Hello and welcome back to Dawn Chorus Writes a Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction. This is part two to I Love You. I would like to say a massive thank you to everyone who's responded to this two-parter. It's had amazing feedback and views and everything like that, so thank you for all the love. And yeah, just keep pushing it onwards, and I hope you really enjoy part two, okay? Make sure you smash that like button, comment down below what you think of it, and share about. Okay, enjoy. I love you. I Love You, Part 2. Marinette laid in her bed, tossing and turning back and forth, continuing to take deep breaths, not wanting to give Hawkmoth another victim. A constant drifting fog filled her mind, causing it to ache. Exhaustion from crying in waves. She had given herself the day to get over it and then finally push her feelings of Adrien out of her once and for all. She had done it. She had actually told him her feelings, and he had said thank you. Even if he hadn't heard her, she had placed it all in a card for him along with the hat and the scarf. Nothing. She had heard nothing from him. What had she expected? Another thank you for the special handcrafted gifts she had made for him that showed him exactly how much she loved him? Or for him to spin round and declare his love for her? She had appreciated her partner for his kind words, seeing that softer side of him meant the world, even if he didn't realize that she was his ladybug and crying over the boy that wasn't him. She had gone over his words of advice. He had felt genuine sorrow for her and wished he could have stayed longer so that she hadn't felt so alone. She knew she would need to speak to Alia tomorrow and tell her everything that had happened between her and Adrien, so saying it out loud to anyone other than Chat was a thought she couldn't face at the moment. Hey, Alia, can we talk after school? I need your advice. Marinette kept her gaze on the math work in front of her. Yeah, sure, girl. I'm here for you. Alia rubbed her hand across her friend's back in a soothing manner, not pushing it further in class. We can get a tub of ice cream and pick a film if you want. Great. Nothing romantic, though, Marinette muttered. For the rest of the morning, Marinette tried to keep herself distracted, avoiding the Adrien-sized gap in the seat in front of her, and decided to head home for lunch today. Laying in her bedroom, she was absent-mindedly picking out the pieces of salmon from her quiche when her phone buzzed on the rug. Adrien. Hey, Marinette. She almost dropped her phone in shock. Adrien was texting her? She glanced at the world clock on her phone. It must have been about 5 a.m. at this time. What was he doing awake and messaging her? Should she reply? What do I say? Tiki, it's Adrien. What should I say? Marinette held the phone out in front of her with a pleading look on her face. The red Kwame put down the cookie and shrugged her shoulders. You're still friends, aren't you? Yeah, I think so. To be honest, she wasn't sure what they were now. Keep it friendly. Tiki was great at taking the drama out of a situation. Marinette. Hey, Adrien. She watched the dots start and stop over the next 5 minutes. Her heart was pounding in her throat and was on the brink of freaking out and shouting at her phone, Come on! Adrien. Nothing I can say in a text will do justice to what I need to say to you face to face. Can we meet up when I get back? Just the two of us after school. What does that mean? What did it mean? Is that a yes? Is that a no? Is that another thank you? And what is she expected to wait 2 more days for a reply to 1,000,001 questions that were forming inside her mind? What does she even say to that? What am I meant to say to that, Tiki? and I have to wait to speak to him? You know how bad I am to his face. Why did I have to tell him? It would have been easy if I'd said nothing. I'm proud of you, Marinette. The courage you've shown. And Adrien is kind, and your friend. I think you need to give him the chance to talk. You're right, Tiki. Thank you. See? I can say it too. She failed to see Aquami roll her eyes as Marinette picked up her phone to reply. Marinette. Sure. Here? The park was too open to people passing by, and she didn't feel like heading to a cafe just in case he was going to let her down the nicest way possible. Because surely, if he felt the same, he would have told her by now. No, she needed somewhere she could hide afterwards. Adrien. Okay. He said, okay. Is that okay, right? Tiki flew in front of the phone to get her attention. Marinette? School! She looked at the time. Shoot, she was going to be late again if she didn't run. It's not true. Tell me I've been lied to. You told Adrien you loved him? The words burst out of Alia's mouth in shock. Crying isn't like you. Chat's word kept repeating in her head for days now. There had been something personal about that line, as if he knew her, more than the few occasions during battles. Marinette had decided not to tell Alia about Chat being there for her that night. She might read into it, and there was already enough drama with one. I know. What the hell did I do? Marinette covered her face with her hands. I'm surprised you did it. I never thought being the type to let someone see right through. Marinette peered through a gap between her fingers. I'm going to knock some sense into that boy once and for all. Alia stood up from her bed, emitting anger stomping back and forth. To say thank you to I love you, and then what, after 3 days? 2 really, Marinette interjected. Fine, 2 days to send you that message? What? Why are boys so vague? What is that even meant to mean? You can't ask Nino. If Adrien hasn't told him and you would know, then I don't want it to get back to him. Marinette stood in front of her best friend and held her by her shoulders so that she would listen. Fine, I won't say. Alia dropped her head. Marinette knew her friend hated to keep secrets from her boy, but Nina wasn't good at keeping secrets as much as Alia was. What are you gonna say? Maybe won't you take it back? Say you were trying to make him laugh and nothing has to change today? You didn't mean to say I love you? But I did mean to say I love you, and I don't want to take it back. If he doesn't feel the same, I understand. I just hope it doesn't destroy our friendship too. Adrien stared out the pane window, watching the sunset across the Atlantic Ocean. He knew he'd be up all night on another red eye. Oh, I wish we never learned to fly. A memory flashed into his mind of him and Marinette staring out the window when his whole class had field trip to New York. Had she loved him since then? That whole trip he had been fighting against his feelings for Marinette, telling him she was such a good friend and that's why he wanted to be next to her every second of the day and craved the warmth of her hug. The thought of her being in love with him overwhelmed his heart to the point now that he couldn't think straight. He had no idea what he was going to say to her as Adrien in a matter of hours, but he had formed a plan to visit her as Chat first, check on her and see where her head is at. Ladybug might say it's an abuse of a Miraculous, but this was Marinette. How could he not? Adrien dropped his bag on the bed as a sleepy Plag flew out. Hey, I was snoozing there. It was a perfect dream of a land of cheese. Plag, if you lived there, then there wouldn't exist for long. You'd eat it all. Anyway, I only have a few hours I can visit Marinette before school. Maybe we should try and go back to sleep. Plag let out a moan as he watched the fist coming out. Plag, claws out! It was 5 a.m. and Shat could smell the heavenly scent of Tom and Sabine's freshly baked bread and felt his stomach grumble. He'd been off his food for the past couple of days, but being here on Marinette's balcony felt right. He was home again. He peered through the window and saw Marinette sleeping in her bed like an angel. He could feel the heat rising in his cheeks at the thought of him curled up next to her, all cozy. To be able to lie in those arms and feel her love, all depended on the next 14 hours. He took a deep breath and knocked on her window. He grinned as she let out a little moan and pulled the covers over her head. Too cute for words. Then the image of how she had been the last time he'd seen her, her heart was breaking and he was the one. Oh, I didn't mean to make you cry. No, he was gonna fix it. He just hoped she still loved him, that maybe she won't take it back and say she were trying to make him laugh. He knocked again, a little harder, causing her eyes to pop open, and placed a hand over her mouth to stop her from screaming. Shat! She saw her form the words, followed by a puzzled expression. All he could do was give her a little hand wave and gestured for her to come out. Shat, what are you doing here? It's early in the morning. Marinette rubbed her eyes against the dawn light, starting to highlight the chimney breast and appear over her wall. I just got back and I wanted to check on you. You've been in my thoughts. He gave her a genuine soft smile. Oh, Kitty. Give me 5 minutes, okay? She held up her hand, asking him to stay while she slipped back onto her bed and headed out of the bedroom through the hatch. After a little over 5 minutes, she had returned, carefully balancing a tray. He held her window open and took it from her. It had 2 hot mugs of fruity tea and a plate filled with freshly baked pastries which smelt so good it made his mouth water. He watched her gather up blankets and chuck them at him, causing him to stumble and laugh. He peered over the heap and saw her standing there in her cute PJs and messy bedhead instead of her usual pulled-back pigtails. He knew in that moment he loved this girl in front of him with every part of his heart, that she was the one, if he still had a chance. Kitty, help me lay out the blankets. She gestured to hold onto the edge as they placed it onto the ground like a picnic blanket and arranged the tray on top. She grabbed another one and draped it over her shoulders and patted on the spot next to her. He picked up the last one and did as he was told. Help yourself. Early breakfast. Fresh out of the oven. His stomach answered for him as it let out a little grumble, causing Chat to turn pink and Marinette to laugh. Oh, the sound of which was music to his ears. He picked up a pan au chocolat and tore it in half. The chocolate inside was still gooey and the pastry held a hint of warmth as it crumbled in his gloved hands. He handed the other half to Marinette and took a large mouthful, embracing the delicious flavours melting into his mouth. Marinette giggled as he let out a happy moan whilst having a chocolate smile. Oh, Kitty. She said it in a way that reminded him of Ladybug, and yet his heart didn't pang in the same way it used to, knowing that it was unrequited love. Instead, it came from the lips of a lady that might still love him. Not Shat, but Adrien, which was close enough. He took a sip of tea and cleared his throat. Princess, thank you for all this, but I came to see how you are, after our last meeting. I wanted to say thank you for that. You brought comfort to me and asked for nothing in return. You have a good heart, Shat. She leaned over and gave him a quick peck on the cheek, causing his heart to race and turn his cheeks red. Having time has helped. He, Adrien, contacted me. We are meeting after school to talk. And is nothing going to change today? You didn't mean to say I love you? But I did, and I do. I still love him. Marinette cast her gaze downwards, while Chat did everything he could not to pounce on her and kiss her. She still loves him. What if he turned round and said, "I love you too"? I don't want to think about that. I don't know why he would. She gave him a half smile and reminded him of the smile that she gave him even when she felt like dying. "Princess, you are beautiful inside and out. You are kind and thoughtful." Chat gestured to the picnic. "You are strong and brave and stand up for what is right and fight against what is wrong in this world. You seem to think you know a lot about me, Chat." "Maybe I do." He was playing with fire and didn't care if she worked it out. One day she will know that Adrien is Chat and laugh back at their secret picnic on the balcony. The bells chimed out the hour once more and he knew he needed to go, but this time he didn't mind. He would see her soon. "Well, thank you for the breakfast." He grabbed an extra one for Plag that had a wedge of melted cheese inside. "I'll see you soon, Princess. Good luck." "Oh, I have plenty of luck." She gave him a wink and a smirk that caused him to stumble for a moment before regaining his balance. "Thank you, Chat. You're a good friend. Stop by any time." As Chat leaped across the rooftops, his heart fluttered so hard that he felt like he was floating back to his room. But it was no longer home. His home was where his heart was. His home was Marinette. School was strange to say the least. As Adrien, it was a lot harder. Alia kept giving him the evils, with Nino confused why his girlfriend wanted to kill his best friend. He tried smiling and creating small talk with Marinette, but that felt awkward, not like this morning. But she still loved him, which meant he still had a chance, and this afternoon, he wasn't going to mess it up. He knocked on the side door, straightening his hat and scarf while holding a small gift he had brought back from New York with him in his hands. The door opened and there stood Marinette in a pink tea dress and her hair loose around her shoulders. She was stunning. "Hey, Marinette, you look beautiful." He was stumbling over his words. "Hi, come in." She smiled at him in a bashful way as she held the door open and guided him up the stairs. "Mom, Adrien is here to do some studying in my room." Sabine raised her eyebrows and smiled at her daughter and then at Adrien, who was standing awkwardly next to her. "Nice to see you again, Adrien. Would you like to stay for dinner? We have plenty." "Thank you. Hello. Thank you for the offer. Well, I'm not sure how to answer that one." He looked at Marinette, who wasn't looking at him. "We'll see. He might want to leave early. I'll let you know." Marinette headed up the stairs with Adrien, who was thinking he'd never want to leave his home again. "Okay then," Sabine laughed to herself. Marinette, surprisingly composed, sat down on the chaise and waited for Adrien to speak, but instead he sat at a pace across the floor with one hand behind his neck while still holding onto the gift. "Marinette, I am so sorry. I am so very sorry. I messed up big time. I wasn't giving you the attention you deserved, so when you said those unbelievable words that I don't deserve, I said the wrong thing." His heart was racing and he couldn't look at her in the face. He failed to notice that she had rose to her feet and was now standing next to him. "Once I realized what I'd done, I fell apart as it got dark, and I couldn't stop thinking about you." He glanced around and saw her glistening stare at the ground. He reached out and placed her hair behind the ear and so that he could see her face more clearly, and found himself stroking her soft cheek, watching the colour change against his hand. "I got this for you," he said in a gentle tone, handing it out to her. "I put on your hat and scarf that smelt like you, and I found myself wanting to be in your arms in Central Park." His hand dropped from her face as she turned to open the gift on the side table. Inside was a glittering snow globe of Central Park. He moved to stand beside her and whispered into her ear, "There's nothing you could do or say. I can't escape the way I love you. She spun round, almost dropping the snow globe with her eyes wide at him. I don't want to hear it if you don't mean it. Her eyes began to fill with silent tears as he wiped them away with his thumb as he cupped her cheek. But I do. I love you. I just didn't realize how much until I had the fear of losing you. Tell me, please. I love you, Adrien. There was no mistake, no stamina this time. My heart will always belong to you. Thank you, even though I don't deserve it. He leaned in and kissed her smile, running his hands through her hair and holding on tight against him, never wanting to let go. I will always be grateful for your love and never take it for granted. I love you so much. Thank you very much for listening to part 2 of I Love You. So make sure you smash that like button. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment down below what you thought of it. If you have any other recommendations for one-shots, lyrical one-shots, and make sure you share and ring that bell and all that goodness and subscribe. Please subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye.